Good evening. Please come on in and have a seat. It is 6:01, and we definitely want to start on time and honor your time. Thank you so much for coming this evening. Please, if you could come on in and take a seat, any seat, we will get started in just a moment. All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Mildred Charlie Green. I am the Chief of Staff for Baltimore County Public Schools. It is absolutely my pleasure to welcome you to this community meet and greet with our Superintendent, Dr. Miriam Yarbrough. This is our fourth event, and Dr. Yarbrough has enjoyed interacting with members of the public, hearing questions, and being able to do some idea sharing with you around what you would like to see in BCPS, to discuss your hopes, dreams, and aspirations for our system and how we're going to work together moving forward. So my job is to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, and then I'm going to invite up one of our board members to give a quick introduction, and then we'll move into our evening. So we'll begin with Board Member Harvey. Thank you so much for joining us. She will come up. Thank you. And she will do a quick introduction of Dr. Yarbrough. Just one moment. I'm going to give a rundown, so we'll start there. And then after we hear from Board Member Harvey, we'll invite up our superintendent to very briefly go over some of the priorities she has for our system. So she'll review a few slides. And then at that time, we will turn it over to you. We'll turn it over to you to work to answer a couple of questions that she has for you about what you'd like to see in BCPS, what's working well, what you perhaps would like to see work a little bit differently, and certainly things that, you know, are cherished and should remain the same. And so you'll have an opportunity to speak not only directly to Dr. Yarbrough, but with the folks who are at your table and to share those ideas. I'm here with all of these members of the communications team. If you can just kind of raise your hand, who set up this event for you. They will come around with chart paper to help you record those ideas. It is their job to make sure that we are noting all of the trends and making sure that that is captured so that we're able to put that back out to the public and you're able to see kind of what the trends are around the system in terms of what we see as the need for BCPS. When it is time to share out, you will designate someone at your table to share out some of the big ideas. We will walk around with microphones to hear from you directly, give you an opportunity to share what you discuss at your tables, and then of course we'll open it up for question and answer, and we'll end our evening. So that's the lay of the land. Before I invite up Board Member Harvey, I do want to recognize we've got Delegate Eric Ebersol with us here today. So if we could give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We appreciate your presence. And at this time, I will invite up our Board Member Harvey, Vice Chair, just to share a few remarks before we begin.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm Robin Harvey. I am the District 1 representative on the Board of Education and the current Vice Chair. I am on behalf of the board here to welcome you and to thank you for coming out. I believe that presence equals priority, and to see so many of our community members, faculty, young people here communicates to me that we're all invested in the same goal, which is making sure that BCPS has the best educational system in the state. So a little bit about Dr. Yarbrough. You know, as Mildred said, she's going to share her vision, and I think the point is she has a vision for Baltimore County Public Schools, and that's no small feat. We are a system of 111,000 students, which means 222,000 parents, not to mention staff and community. So it's a big task, and she is up for the job. What I can say is that the board has full confidence in Dr. Yarbrough's ability to lead us, as she would say, and as you will hear her say many times, at the speed of schools. We can't wait. We understand that we can't wait. And Dr. Yarbrough's intellect, her character, her knowledge, her skills, and her integrity are what we need at this time, at this crossroads we have in Baltimore County Public Schools. So I am very excited to have her as our leader. And without further ado, before I say that, I want to say there's our Teacher of the Year, Beverly Folkoff. District 1. I have to say it every time I see her, District 1. But without further ado, I bring to you Dr. Miriam Yarbrough.
Good evening, everyone. Well, welcome and thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I want to spend the first few minutes just sharing with you what my priorities are, my core values, leadership philosophy, and then, as Ms. Charlie Green said, really open it up to you, because I really want to hear from you. These visits, these meet and greets allow me the opportunity to hear in different segments of our communities, what are your priorities, what are your needs, so that as we move forward with our Fast Forward plan, we're making sure that we're considering the viewpoints of all of our parents and all of our families. So thank you for being here this evening. This slide simply details my core values. And the first and most important thing to me are our students. That whatever decision that we're making, we're keeping it grounded in what's best for our students. Not some students, all students. Not only elementary, not only middle, not only high, all of the students, all of the 111,000 that we serve currently, and hopefully enrollment will keep rising. We want to make sure that they are our priority. As we make decisions, we think about what's in their best interest. Whenever we're having conversations and we get a little too far away from what's in the best interest of the students, I take it as my responsibility to bring it back to the students. How does this impact students? And when we talk about how does this impact students, we naturally have to talk about our staff. Because at the end of the day, it's all of our staff that make the difference for our students. Starting with our bus drivers who pick up almost 80,000 students every single morning. That's more than 3/4 of our population, or almost 3/4 of our population. Sorry for being exact, I was a chemistry teacher. So I couldn't let that one slide. You know, we need those students in school first and foremost. We need them in clean, safe buildings. Okay. We need them in clean, safe buildings, and so that's where our facilities come in to play. We need to make sure that they're well nourished. We're so excited this year that all of our students are going to receive free meals, breakfast, as well as lunch in every single one of our schools, so that they are in the best possible position to engage in teaching while, our teachers are teaching so that they can learn the materials. In order to do this, strong relationships are at the core. The relationships that exist between teachers and students, the relationship that exists with families, with stakeholders, very important, and at the heart of that is mutual respect. As a building leader, I only had one rule for over 2,000 students, and that was respect. Respect yourself, respect others, and respect where you are. It is with that same rule, if you will, that I want to move forward as your superintendent, to make sure that we are showing mutual respect in all of our actions as well as our communication with each other. A lot of people talk about truth and action. One of the reasons why we're having meet and greets is for you to be comfortable to share your truth with me. One of the things that I must do is share with you, both from the meet and greet feedback as well as the report from the transition team, what our truth is. What are the things that we're doing well, as well as where do we have challenges? Just because we're identifying challenges doesn't mean that's where we stop. We identify them so that everybody's on the same page, but what's really important is we talk about how we're going to solve those problems. What are we going to do about it after we unearth the problem? We also talk about having a standard of excellence. It is my goal that no matter who you speak to, no matter what building you're in, if there is a service that you need, no matter, as a stakeholder, whether you're a parent, you're a student, you're a staff member, that you're receiving a high level of service across the board. That no longer are you thinking about a certain few key individuals for you to get answers to your questions, that we're all invested in making sure that everyone has what they need to be successful. And so what are our needs? I think everyone knows here I started my career 26 years ago. In a couple of weeks, I'll be able to say 27 years ago at Woodlawn High School as a chemistry teacher. For the last almost 4 years, I've been back and had the pleasure of working across divisions and all offices. Some of the priorities that I believe we all can agree upon, that I've heard from families, from schools, from students, from staff members are number one, academic achievement. Making sure that our students are able to demonstrate, no matter whether we're talking about internally to teachers, district-wide on district assessment, or externally on state assessment, high levels of learning. Number two, infrastructure. Everyone knows that a few years ago, we had a debilitating attack. One of the things that happened is our technology requires a lot of manual labor. And that, the way that you see that as stakeholders, is the amount of time that it takes us to respond to certain requests that you have. And so making sure we already have in the pipeline and through the approval of the board, we have contracts that have been approved for what we call a lifeline of the system that does everything from payroll to human resources, as well as the infrastructure that we use for, I'm sorry, I just forgot the second one. I usually talk about ERP and one other system that makes sure that everything is smoothly functioning. And I'm sorry, that's our UKG for our payroll for staff for the timekeeping. And so that's important that we make sure that all of those things roll out as scheduled so it reduces the burden on our staff members on a regular basis. None of this is possible without highly effective teachers, leaders, and staff. And in order to do this, it's two parts. One, we need to be able to recruit staff over to Baltimore County Public Schools. We are very pleased to announce that we are the second highest paid salary in the state as a result of the generous funding of our funding partners. And then number two is retention. It's just as important, if not more important, to retain the staff that we have in order for us to move to the top of the state. We can't do any of this without a safe climate. Everyone needs to feel safe, both physically safe as well as social, emotionally safe. We need to make sure that we have inclusive environments where people feel valued, that their voices are heard, and people feel empowered to share their truth. Sharing your truth is exactly what we need. We need you to not be afraid to come and share in a respectful way what your experience is and what your needs are so that we can work together to solve them. So the next part of our time together will be for you to talk in your table groups and identify for us what your priorities are. I have three questions for you. The first one is, what does BCPS do well that you would like to see continue? You don't want us to touch this. This is really working well for your community, your student, you as a staff member. Second question, what are your aspirations and hopes for BCPS? Where would you like to see us go within the next year, the next few years? And the third question, what are two areas of improvement that you would like us to focus on immediately? By this fall, you would like to see some action as a result of this priority area. So we're going to give you 7 minutes at your table groups to review these questions, to share. I believe Ms. Charlie Green has designated one recorder and one reporter.
All right, I'm going to ask that you bring your conversations to a close so that we can begin hearing from you. Thank you. I do know that we've got the middle school principal of the year here. I may have to ask Mr. Purcell to come and bring everyone to attention. I don't know if you have any special things middle school teacher of the year does to bring the class back together. Thank you. And please give him a round of applause. We're so pleased that we've got both he and Beverly here this evening. Thank you so much for coming. Also would like to acknowledge that we've got, or we just had Miss Marlena Purcell, one of our, oh, she's here, she's still here, Wave from our Area Advisory Councils here this evening. So thank you for joining us. We've also had board member Ms. Pumphrey, Christina Pumphrey, join us. So please, thank you for coming and joining us this evening. And of course, we've got Senator Charles Sidnor, who is here attending with his wife this evening. So thank you, sir, for attending us for this important conversation, for attending with us. So we're going to take a moment to hear from you. So please take a moment and identify, look around the table, who at your table is going to present and share when we come around with the microphone to hear directly from you your answer to each of the three questions. You don't have to share all of them. Share one. And then certainly, if your idea has already been shared, we definitely want to be additive and not repetitive, so certainly pick another to share. If you don't get to share everything on your chart paper, no worry. On your table, you have little note cards. We invite you to use those. Perhaps your comment, question didn't make its way onto the chart paper. We are collecting these. We are compiling these. We are identifying trends. We're also collecting chart paper, compiling those, and identifying trends. And the goal is to get that out to everyone so we can see what the thoughts are across the county. So at this time, we're going to begin hearing from you all. And so I'm going to invite my friends who have the microphones. There's Mo there in the back of the room, and Charlie's over here. And I'm going to invite them to select a table. So Mo, if you want to get us started with the table back there.
I'm pretty loud. Y'all can hear me without the mic. Hi, everybody. I'm the assistant principal at Lansdowne Middle School, and I have all my colleagues here. The west side is the best side. Ms. Bowl, my team was comprised of Ms. Bowl, pupil personnel worker, my partner, Ms. Murray, she's the other assistant principal, Ms. Small, she's at Baltimore Highlands, and then a teacher, I can't remember the school. Catonsville High. Okay, teacher, Catonsville High English. Okay, I was listening. Promise. All right, so we set ours up, and you said we can only read one? Okay.
Each column, please.
Okay, one from each column. So we're going to go with working well. Okay, working well, Office of Communication. We believe that the communication has become like more solid than what we've had in the past years, and it's been more streamlined. So we appreciate that. Aspirations, we can combine two. We think that there should be more opportunities for vocational studies, and not just for magnet students, but just like vocational studies, period. And then also just affording alternative learning options for students as a whole. Some students are, they pose as unsafe, or they have unsafe behaviors, and they should be provided with an alternate learning opportunity instead of being placed back in our school. So we do believe that that's an aspiration that we have. And then areas of immediate improvement, I guess, was personal, local, and immediate for me. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say two. I'm gonna break the rules. If that's okay.
You're fine.
All right. So personal, local, immediate for me. I think that we should assess the effectiveness of administration trainings and PDs. I think that me being a first-year AP, yes, I did it. And I'm happy I made it. But I would love for us to just assess the effectiveness of it all and just think about maybe the framework for that. And then as for my team, I would say infrastructure of the building. So Lansdowne Middle School, we are the first middle school in BCPS. We have no windows. We have one main hallway, 900 kids. It gets really unsafe up in there sometimes, but we make it happen. So just thinking about like equal opportunities for new buildings and things like that.
Thank you. Thank you for completing your first year as an assistant principal. We appreciate and need you doing that important work, and thank you for being the first to kick us off. So we'll go ahead and move to this table here.
Hi, I'm a parent, and this is Judy and Deirdre. One's in the school system and a grandparent. I'm speaking from parent. So for the first one, we said high achievement standard, high effective teachers. So that's working for BCPS. For the second one, more parent engagement, resources, courses to help a parent to be a parent. Because the structure, if they have a good structure at home, you tend to see that the child does not, the child succeeds a little bit better than if the structure is not a good structure at home. So any resource or courses to aid the parent. And the third one, I can speak for myself. Thank God I work from home. If the bus doesn't show up, I can just turn on my Skype and hurry up and jump and get my child. So that was a challenge, especially after the pandemic during the holiday. The bus may not show up. So, and meeting the students where they are. So it kind of spoke to what the assistant principal, said back there of meeting the student where they are. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Hi, I'm Maura Hill. I was at a table with mostly parents and another educator from Baltimore County. Our positives were definitely the nutrition and feeding all of the students, and then also a very positive review of the summer arts camps, very well received by the students, very inclusive. Some aspirations: a firm, vocal, steadfast, unwavering commitment to DEI across the board. And not just a commitment, but also actions that matter with DEI across the board. Someone has already mentioned higher academic standards. Things to improve: compliance with special education, a concern about the retirement of special educators and leadership in special education, accountability for discipline and respect in the building, and then also retention of faculty, speeding up that HR process so that we don't lose really good candidates to other systems.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Great, thanks. Our table, can you, a little up? Okay. Our table has a variety of stakeholders, and I think that's important, and I like that we kind of came together with a list that really kind of mirrors the list back there from the AP's table, and a lot of what everybody else has been saying. But the thing that we want to really express is that props to the communication, because we said out of the gate that the communication is really good. We think that's a great celebration at this time. The thing that we really just want to make sure that we say is that we feel that the county did a good job with starting equity and having those conversations. We need to make sure that we're continuing that. So I think everything else that we talked about has been mentioned. So that's it. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Reveal Jacobs. I have 3 students in Baltimore County Public Schools. My table included 3 educators and 1 parent. And for what we thought that BCPS is doing well is the after-school extracurricular activities were great this year. The aspirations and hopes that we have is to increase parental engagement. And one improvement was the lunch program, to have more options as far as variety, so that the students will actually eat the breakfast and the lunch. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so I got to sit at a table with all other special educators, just by chance. One of our do-wells was that the county does a great job communicating with all the different bargaining units so that lots of different voices can be held. One of our hopes is to see an increase of teacher morale as we're going forward into this next school year. And one of our improvements is with special education, just kind of top to bottom. There's a whole lot in there that we have some room for growth.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah Duffy. I am Woodlawn High School's SGA president. I'm here. I'm here with my mother, who is the PTSA president at Woodlawn High School. I'm here with Miss Catano, who is a Spanish teacher at Woodlawn Middle, and I am here also with a parent from one of the schools in the county. So, when it comes to our engagement, one of the things that BCPS is doing well was their magnet programs. We have the most in the state. Areas of improvement, more student opportunity for leaderships was really important for me and a lot of students at my school and just all around the county. And aspirations and hopes, expansion of advanced academics, so the best practices and activities for all students.
Good job.
Hi, I am a parent, and I was lucky enough to be in a group with 3 educators. So we have a high school teacher and 2 elementary school teachers. Maybe if you want to turn it a little bit, yeah, so that they can see. Some of what we wrote has already been said, so I'll skip over that. We believe that one of the aspirations would be more transparency. I think at our table, we're not quite as impressed with communication as some. Also then an area of improvement, 2 areas, I'm also going to break rules. Safety, that would be from the students within the walls of the schools. And the behaviors, how do we teach with so many behaviors? And then accountability, how does BCPS follow the BCPS handbook? So accountability for all. Those are our items. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm going to stand right over here.
Our table focused uniquely on ESOL, as we had an ESOL advocate, an ESOL teacher, a mom of an ESOL student, a former board member, and I am a general educator who works with ESOL students. So we launched onto that topic and kind of went all over the place. One of the things pertaining to ESOL students that we felt they did well was we were happy to hear that those ESOL students are very welcomed into our county. So that's very impressive, and we're happy about that because we really want our kids to love coming to school. One of our hopes was, Rosario was going to mention that. Do you want to?
Is that we're really happy as you know, people that speak other languages. We're very happy that the teachers have that intention to really work with those students. We have seen that the teachers want to do it, but the teachers need more resources. So we need that board, like the Department of Education, to channel more resources into training teachers to become culturally proficient to work with our students and our parents.
And our area of improvement is really combining ESOL and special ed together. That when we have students that are ESOL but also have special education needs, that we're meeting them, that we're training we're training us to really make a concerted effort to help these kids early intervention, that our training be, and that our lovely educator, who's an ESOL educator in some really tough and challenging places, has said that we need communication between that ESOL office and our special education office, that they really need to talk and work together because we don't want any child to be not given the fullest of an education here in Baltimore County.
Graduate the ESOL students from.
Yes, we want to graduate them all.
Hello, my name's Colleen Larson. We had, oh, sorry, yes, I'm sorry. We had, my bad, yeah. We are both parents and staff members of BCPS, and we both also have a student in a magnet program in BCPS, and that's one thing that we both felt BCPS does well. I'm very impressed with the magnet program that my son goes to, thankfully over at Western Tech. We were very pleased he got to go there, and I don't know if you want to share with your son.
And my son is at Southwest Academy. I love all of his teachers. Yeah, thank you.
And so that is one thing that we felt that BCPS does pretty well. So as far as hopes and aspirations, this is kind of general, but that all students and staff feel and actually are fully supported. Because that means different things to different staff members and to different students. So sometimes it's hard to put that into a specific thing. But, you know, in order for our students to get everything they feel they need, our staff members, and that's every staff member in BCPS, teachers, support staff, bus drivers, the lunch ladies, you know, the cafeteria staff, they all need to feel that they're fully supported. Our building service workers, you know, all of them. Whether that support looks like
support from their admin or support from central office for what they might need from central office, things like that. And then areas of improvement, kind of seeing the general trend of special education. And I will share personally, I have 2 students with IEPs, so I've seen that. And so behavior support, along with safety, addressing behavior promptly and then consistently, addressing safety of students and staff. So I know someone else mentioned, like, sometimes we need to be a little more open to, I know that general education is kind of like the standard and what the goal is for most of our students, but sometimes we wonder if they're coming back a little too soon or without the right supports in place. So special education also, quicker support from central offices for the things that our special educators in the school buildings need from central office, because sometimes their hands are tied until they can get someone from the Office of Special Education to complete an assessment. Sometimes they need a sign off on like a different placement, but there's a lot of pushback on the placement that this person who works with that student every day is suggesting based on one visit from the Office of Special Education saying, well, do they really need this placement? Support, addressing the size of caseloads for our special educators. We have special educators that have so many students on their caseload and so many service hours. I know special educators who are working 60 hours a week just to get their paperwork done. And then support for our gen ed teachers that have special education students in their classroom. So the ones that, you know, we can keep in general education, but they're, you know, sometimes students are just in there and they don't have their needs properly identified, or they don't have their support, or they need a one-to-one, or they don't have it. Things like that is where we generally would like to see some immediate improvement.
Okay, thank you very much. John, and so we have some good things. We were in a group with parents, a couple students, and some teachers, and our students really like the teachers that they have here, which is, I think, a good thing. Something that can, some of the hopes that we're aspirations is that we get the better communication between transportation with the buses and the parents. And I know that at least for us, it has gotten better, but we're still kind of falling short. It's, and we know transportation knows when the high school student buses aren't getting there, but we're not hearing it for the elementary school. And for where we can improve, it's, we've already had people talk about security and the academic standards. We were hoping for, especially the students here, working clean bathrooms and some equitable funding between some of the higher profile schools and some of the lesser profile schools.
My name is King Teasdale. I am a member of the grounds crew with Baltimore County Schools since 2006. I often see what others do not see. One of the things I wish to say is that I am grateful for the determination for excellence that I've seen with Baltimore County Schools since I've been here. That is the first answer. The second one is, what's my aspirations? The aspirations is respecting the earth and cleanliness, because this has to be taught somewhere. And to see children just throw stuff down and give no concern to it, that's not the earth we want to live in the future. The other thing that I'm concerned about is incorporating ethics somewhere as far as teaching is concerned as well. And lastly, the two areas of improvement would be behavioral health starts with stable minds. We collectively need to identify that as a wholeness. And lastly, upgrade for equipment for facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Yarbrough, but I did hear equity quite a few times, so I wanted to take a moment and just recognize Ms. Sharon Blake, who is a member of our equity committee, who is here today and representative of some of that work. So just wanted to call attention to her.
Thank you very much. So before we close, I'll share some reflections on the themes that I heard this evening. At this time, I want to open it up for you for any general questions that you might have for me. Yes.
So, for the 8 years preceding pandemic, BCPS precipitated your announcement. I was my goal is what specifically do you plan to do, and would you consider changes such as cell phone policy, having an attendance and ending the firing, ending the school year. Right now, we invite children for grade level help, are bringing in their best and brightest to give. So if you could.
So thank you for those questions. The first, in terms of academic achievement, absolutely, I have some thoughts. But any good plan includes the input of several other staff members. And so since I just started on Monday, I have not yet had a chance to meet with all the groups. However, they're all scheduled. One of the things that I can guarantee you is the transition team that was announced, part of their work is to identify some challenges that we have and some short-term recommendations as well as some long-term recommendations. My charge to them is a very user-friendly report. And by the end of, let's say, 6 months, that we've implemented the short-term recommendations, but at the end of the second phase of the Fast Forward plan, we're able to share broadly with Team BCPS what we're doing for the long-term recommendations. Academic achievement is at the top of my list. We are going to have a very detailed plan, step by step, but it wouldn't be fair for me to start saying, here's what I think based on my analysis of the data, because I have analyzed the data going back about 16 years, as well as our data for our students from the clearinghouse, what they do when they leave us. So stay tuned on that one. Now, you asked a few pieces that you'll probably have to remind me. One is whether or not cell phone. So some work that we started in the spring, and what we did was bring in some principles that the implementation of the cell phone policy is perfectly done, according to peers, according to stakeholders, according to parents. And principals came together to come to agreement about what that might look like. Middle schools is the area that we found the most, based on our data, that really need that strong, consistent implementation of cell phone policy. So we've already brought principals together for several meetings to come to agreement about what those steps will look like. In August, we are going to share with our community very specifically. We're going to have a communication campaign on what our cell phone implementation policy is going to look like. And in the fall, that's what we're going to do, because what we've seen when we've analyzed the data, students that have their cell phones away, their test scores, both internal assessments as well as external assessments, that we've seen growth, large differences in numbers for those students. We've also seen attendance, and we've also seen for behavior. Cell phones, some of the information that we're going to share with parents and caregivers are about the dangers of cell phones, as well as the tools and resources available to parents to put limits on cell phones during the school hours, and what we are willing to take responsibility for during the school hour to make sure that there's clear and timely communication to our families in case there's a safety issue. And with some of the looming safety issues that I know come to the mind of parents, that's why we're looking to leverage technology. technology that within an instance can tell us if there's an issue, that will notify our police partners, that will notify community members quickly. And so we're working very closely with county government as well as some external partners. We'll be working with our Board of Education to make sure that everything is in alignment so we can share that with our families. And I think the last thing you talked about was extended year opportunities. So thank you for both of those things. Elementary school attendance policy, that's something, we have Dr. Roberts right here. That's something that I'm absolutely willing to have a conversation with Dr. Roberts, Dr. Ferguson, and other members of our team to talk about that a little bit more, make sure that we're in alignment with what COMAR says. And in terms of extended year, absolutely all the research says that we can't invite students to spend more time on the schoolwork. There's a few things that we need to do. Number one is that we need to send some very strong recommendations that we need the time with our students. But number two, we need to make sure that the time is engaging with our students and that they are seeing those gains as a result of spending that extra time with us. And so because my announcement was made May 16th, I did have the opportunity to meet with some of Dr. Elmendorf and members of his team where principals went and sent specific outreach to families where we needed the students this summer. Very small crunch, we didn't have the window that we need. It's something that's on our radar to make sure that for next year that we are doing more than just encouraging and having these opportunities available, as well as how are we leveraging EDLP and our Spark program for our high school students in particular in real time to make up those credits, make up that missed learning, so the next quarter, the next semester, they are successful. So those are things that are on our radar. Thank you. Yes.
As a PTSA president for the first year, it was a little overwhelming, but I got it. One of the things that I know most of us as PTSA presidents are having issues with are parent involvement. One of our surrounding neighborhood counties have invited the parents into the schools to be involved so they can actually, be involved in the school. Is there opportunity for you to sit down with us as presidents to actually come up with an actual plan, particularly for high school kids? I just think that some of us, even myself, almost fell off because I'm thinking they're in high school and they don't need me, but I realize they might need me a little more. So is there any opportunity to sit with you and come up with a plan as presidents and actually come up with a real plan of action to get our parents involved in the schools?
There absolutely is a plan. You know that every month, myself and Ms. Charlie Green, we go to the Council of PTAs and we make ourselves available to talk. So that could be what's on our next month agenda, is coming up with that plan. Last year, we invited parents to come and volunteer to say that our schools are open. We need parents the most before school, during lunch, and after school. But I think, to your point, for us to sit down and craft a plan of how we make sure that that message is widespread, and we do some recruiting to get parents and caretakers into our buildings, of course, after the clearance has been done. I think that's definitely the way to go, because it's going to take all of us to right the ship. So thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk in terms of things that aren't maybe that might not be as important as these teachers in the room. Athletics has a key role in a school. I mean, if you look around at every private institution in Baltimore, what have they invested in? Field and gyms. They're selling athletics as much as their academics. We here in Baltimore County, for whatever reason, and I hear it's money, but I don't know, we treat our JV teams as second-class citizens. This is the first year. I've been here 30 years. This is the first year that we didn't have JV championships. Didn't make any sense. Kids have played all year. It's one more game. Why aren't we allowing them to do that? We also cut the JV schedule. Again, why? I mean, let us come up with the money somewhere. If it's about paying for officials, But transportation, you combine it with the varsity. It's a one cost. So I think I'd like to see us really take care of our younger kids in the JV and have them feel like their season meant something. The other thing I will say is I'd like to see the whole profile of the schools upgraded to where we feel good. I met at a meeting like this with the last superintendent. We have a player out of Catonsville High School in the WNBA. And I said to Doctor, how many athletes do we have, girls, in the WNBA? And I said, look, I'm not going to necessarily quiz you. We have one, Jasmine Dickey from Catonsville High School. I said, she ought to be on the front of our website saying this can be done. We have Reed Wiseman, Delaney High School graduate. He's an astronaut. He's guiding the next mission into space, okay? These are things that we should be publicizing to give us, this is what's possible in Baltimore County. With that, thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing those things. So we're in the right space with the communications team. So you've given us 2 good ideas of students to highlight or former students to highlight, which we can definitely follow up on. And in terms of JV, that's new information for me. And so that'll be something that I can follow up with Mr. Sion. So thank you.
I'm Janice Lepore. I'm one of the parents, and I've also been a professional working with students with special needs for about 20 years. I joined with the concerns about special education, and I appreciate you sharing the members of your transition team, but I didn't see anybody on that transition team who jumped out to me as your expert in special education who's going to get working on basic compliance. Can you tell me who that person is?
So there's one group in the transition team. So the transition team has 5 subcommittees. One is focused on academics, teaching, and learning. And within that subcommittee, there is special education, there is multilingual learners or ESOL services, as well as our comprehensive education. Part of their work is to work with the leadership in the departments to find out what the current state is, what the desired state is, identify the gaps, but they also have to have focus groups. And it's within those focus groups that they're going to be calling out for specific special educators, as well as for our multilingual learners, that they're going to be calling for ESOL advocates. They're going to be calling for ESOL educators to inform that work and to be the experts and let them know the difference between what it is that we aspire to do with the services that we're delivering, and then they will make the short-term and the long-term recommendations. So when you look at the transition team, you're seeing the group of experts that are going to work under the committees, but underneath that, there's a lot of work in unpacking, and there's, additional categories under each subcommittee. So you only saw the list of who the experts were and some of their background. When you receive an update, you'll see even more information. What are the 5 subcommittees? What are the specific topics that they're going to be addressing? But special education, ESOL, and really literacy and mathematics are all at the top of my list. So stay tuned.
So currently I'm a rising senior. So this will be my senior year of high school. I was just wondering, how are you going to push opportunities for seniors this year when it comes to their academics? We have a lot of students who didn't get to graduate. We have a lot of students who are still trying to look for jobs after graduation before they go into college or wherever they're going after high school. So I was just wondering what you were planning to do with that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think one of the things we'd have to do is speak with our principals on one side, also speak with our counselors, and speak with our students. So I'm going to have a student advisory. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I met with a group of students that included high school students, sharing what the current challenges are. So part of that work is finding out what those challenges are, and then what are our resources that we can bring to bear at specific schools, because different schools have different needs. But the first step is to identify what those challenges and needs are. And so my plan would be to engage with people, to find out what those needs are, and then to match the resources that we have and the partnerships that we already have. We have partnerships with county government. We have partnerships with CCBC. We have partnerships with other private organizations that employ our students and our graduates, but we need to find out what the specific needs are at each school so we can do that. Okay. All right. Yes, please.
Thank you. So what the gentleman back there said resonates with me because we need, we need to see these role models of what can be achieved. And that resonates with me because there is a phrase that I love that is, I can't be what I can't see. And I want to talk about our English learners. They cannot be what they cannot see. We need role models, we need teachers, we need staff that, that can communicate with the parents, that are culturally sensitive to the needs of the ESOL or ESOL families. And not only that, I think that we need to really invest in two things: getting, the teachers that we need, training them, providing them all the resources they need, but also, and I think most importantly, so I'm sorry, I'm going here and there and everywhere, but most importantly is we need to graduate our ESOL students out of the ESOL programs because they're left behind there without achieving the same standards of education of the other students. So what are the plans to recruit, culturally appropriate staff and teachers? And the second then is, how are we gonna ensure that our ESOL students graduate from their programs and integrate to the, all the student community?
So thank you for that question. As you see, one of our 4 goals is effective staff, highly effective staff, and recruiting. Currently in our plan, making sure that we're recruiting diverse staff that serve and meet the needs of all of our students is something that we're actively doing this summer. We've announced most recently different incentives to attract teachers to us, but as you said in part of your response, part of that is also providing the professional development to hone in on the skills of the staff members that we have, whether they're new staff or whether we have veteran staff with new strategies and new approaches to teaching our students. The second part of your question about graduating our students in ESOL programs is tied directly to the first half. We need to make sure that we have highly effective staff, and so that the quality of our teaching, our students are able to demonstrate learning. It serves no one any good if we're graduating the students without them having achieved the skills. And so we need to make that commitment to recruit the right staff, make sure that we're developing the ability of all of our teachers so that we are teaching our students some of the top strategies, specifically around academic language, which we know makes a huge difference for our multilingual learners. And so some of what you're going to see happen later this summer and definitely throughout the school year is a concerted effort and focus on professional development that thank you, that includes academic language for all, because teaching academic language is truly what we do. The language of math, the language of English, the language of Spanish. Most students don't walk into the building knowing that, what you need them to learn in your classroom. However, when we have a multilingual learner, you're learning the language of English on top of the language of chemistry. So we need to teach everyone how to do a good job of academic language, and then what are those skills and strategies that are going to particularly help our English language learners, which are also going to be good for our students receiving special education services and any other students that might have gaps in their education.
It's very comforting to hear that strategy. I'm very impressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a question here.
Oh, I guess I'm short. I'll stand up. I'm a parent here at Catonsville High and also an ESOL teacher, so I want to thank you for your attention to our ESOL students. And I'm hoping that the move to middle school and high school away from the centers for ESOL students will really help with that graduation rate. And so I guess I'm just more pleading with you to make sure to continue those resources The county executive has been very generous to continue to give us staffing, but we've been playing catch up for years, and so we need to keep on catching up. Which leads into my other, again, more of a plea than a question, is retention and hiring of teachers. I have lost 2 interns, and we're about to lose another ESOL student, a teacher, all 3 of them bilingual, 1 to the city and 1 to Howard County, because 1 for pay and another because even though they put the applications into BCPS first, the HR departments of the other counties reached out to them first. And so 3 bilingual ESOL teachers are now in Howard County and the city because we moved too slow. So not only our HR, but also this past year bargaining with the teachers union, it took till June to finally have our salary amount. So other teachers who were looking at Anne Arundel and the city said, well, what am I gonna get paid? We don't know. Well, they told them, you know, in December what they were getting paid, so they went over there. So I plead with you to please bargain with our union in a way that will be timely so that we can recruit and then retain teachers rather than losing them to the neighboring counties.
Thank you very much for sharing those comments. In terms of specifically around ESOL, our county executive, you're right, has been very generous in terms of providing additional staffing, additional teachers. I believe we have 36 additional teachers this year. But we also need to focus our efforts on students with gaps in education. What is our program for them? How are we going to serve those needs? And so that is on our radar for our ESOL students. In terms of bargaining, you will know early. Budget is a shared priority between myself and the Board of Education. Again, we're going to speak first, make sure we're on the same page, and you'll see some changes in terms of how we do that. It would be my goal that I would love to present a budget to the Board of Education that has all of the right amounts in there so that everyone knows what you can plan on moving forward. And so I hear you. I'd like to do things once in quick order, so I appreciate you sharing those.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Melissa Catano. I teach over at Woodlawn Middle School. I did go to the PSYOP training this summer. I was in that first group, which does talk, for those of you who don't know what PSYOP is, it is training so that general educators can know about how to teach ESOL students that are in, you know, maybe they're not in the ESOL program, maybe are almost out of the program, but it gives us a way of like, oh, this is what you need to be thinking about. And they did talk about the academic language. So I found that very beneficial, even though I teach Spanish, which is kind of the flip side of ESOL. But I got some good things to think about and actually started working on some stuff. The second thing I wanted to do, kind of talking about the retention bonuses and stuff like that, it was recently announced that teachers who are willing to come to Title I schools would get a $4,000 bonus. But for those of us who are at Title I schools and have been at Title I schools, we're not getting anything. And I would really think we are. Thank you, because
more information is to come.
Okay,
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll try. Hello, everyone. My name's Lori Hardesty. I'm a parent. I'm a former JV volleyball coach at Towson High School, but I'm also a community partner. I work at UMBC, so that lens of university involvement. And I recently read a report in the Baltimore Sun that says we as a collective in Maryland, across all the higher eds that do teacher prep, aren't doing as well as we could. So not just for Baltimore County, but talking about staffing and how to pull the best and the brightest from within our state. So I guess on day two, what are thoughts about how to connect with the higher eds and get on the same page about that, or with your efforts around staffing to begin working on that and how to make that more of a seamless process?
So I appreciate that question. We have several existing partnerships with local colleges and universities, so I'll be looking for this summer to have conversations with them. Last year, when we knew the second year of massive shortages, we were able to stand up specific programs with interns to bring them into the classroom and to provide regular 3 days a week support for those interns to make sure that they were successful. And so I would be looking to expand efforts like that, but also just to have everyone in one room to talk about, what are some of our challenges and what are some ways that we can solve those problems for the fall as well as for the upcoming year, and what kinds of conversations do we need to have throughout the year. So that's definitely, part of the community engagement this summer. And one of the things that I didn't respond to, Ms. Ma, when you spoke to the infrastructure and losing teachers to other counties because of our time, that's one of those 4 goals there around infrastructure. When I had the little blip earlier, that's what it's about. It's making sure that all of our processes are seamless and that people aren't waiting for a response because something's lost in a queue or there's a lot of manual work because our systems went down and you have to go from one system to another. And so it is at the top of our list to make sure that the implementation of these new programs, that we're prioritizing the areas that need it first. Human resources being at the top of the list, following payroll is next. So thank you for that. All right, so we are past 7 o'clock. But I appreciate you all sticking in there with me. So a few things, topics we heard this evening of import to this meet and greet. Equity, making sure that when we talk about equity, it's not a book study, it's not going out and say we only have a policy or saying the words equity in a poster, but it's really about making sure that everyone has what they need to be successful, that we're talking about equity in action. I can tell you that one of the charges that I've had for the equity team is really looking at literacy and mathematics and what are those specific goals for outcomes for our students. And so I definitely hear you about making sure that we have equitable environments, and please look to hear more information about that. The other 2 areas that I'll highlight that I don't think highlighted in some of the questions that you asked are around safety and special education. Safety in particular is at the top of the list. We know that every student needs to feel safe, social, emotionally, as well as physically, and every adult who comes to work needs to feel safe. The same way that my parents do too as well, but my children expect me to come home safe. Every staff member here has someone expecting them to come home safe. And because you give your career to take care of students doesn't mean that you should be risking safety. And so what can we do about that? Part of it is updating our code of conduct, which you will hear about, making sure that our infractions and the consequences are in line with the data that we reviewed over the last 2 years. Communication to our families, providing resources and courses to our families and caregivers so that they know what options they have for support, but also being very consistent and clear in implementation of consequences. Some behaviors simply have no place in the school building, and we need to be able to say that, but we also need to say that we are committed to the education of every student. So that education might look a little different for a period of time, but we're going to commit to safety across our schools. So part of it is around the code of conduct and those behaviors, including what's happening on the buses, but the other part is leveraging technology and the infrastructure to make sure that some of the tools that are out there to keep buildings safe, that we're bringing those into Baltimore County so it's not obtrusive, that schools still feel like schools, but knowing the times that we're in, people feel that there's this extra layer of safety, and if we do have an emergency, that we can get help very quickly to our schools. And the last piece is around special education, and I think I did answer a question or 2 around that, but I will share with you, special education is extremely important. There's no way that we're going to move anywhere near the top of the state of Maryland if we are not making sure that our students receiving special education services, our students who are multilingual learners, our students living in poverty are not achieving academically. And so we're very aware of what the state report looks like in terms of compliance. We have started to dig into what case management looks like, what's reasonable, what are other opportunities that we have with external partners that can help us to fill in the gaps until we get to a place where we are fully staffed or near fully staffed so that the working conditions are such that the special educators can do their very best work for our students. So please know that that is a priority, and this is work that you're going to hear a lot about moving forward. This is not a one and done opportunity to meet with me or to hear from me. I plan to engage with stakeholders internally and externally throughout the year, throughout my tenure in BCPS. You will have plenty of opportunities to share directly with me feedback. When we try to implement something, we will, of course, announce and make sure that that communication is out there. But then we're going to ask you, how is it going? And give you an opportunity to tell us the truth. If we need to course correct, we will. If we need to keep going, we'll keep moving forward. But I know that we must engage with you. You need to feel empowered to speak your truth, and I appreciate all of you for speaking your truth this evening, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to move forward and excel across Team BCPS. So thank you very much for your time this evening.